baby. Baby. Ah. 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 你不爽了？喵。喵。哎呦。来，我们来伸个懒腰。哎，准备好了吗？1、2。哎，躺着不行，躺着受不了。哎，1、2、3。爽不爽？睡得好吗？不好啊。睡得太多了吧？你应该是睡得太好了吧？对啊，你一天20个小时都在睡觉，4个小时在拆我家。这不是我家，是你家，是不是？到底谁是谁的主人？你不是我的主人，我不会把你当我主子的。你是我的猫，不是我的主子。你可以是我的好朋友，我的儿子，但不是我的主子，晓得吧？没人可以当你妈的主子，你也不行。吃饭的时候把脖套取了，有点吵哦。我尽量快，尽量快。Sorry。OK。去吃饭吧。
So the reason I'm making this video is because you may have heard in the news, but Texas is kind of falling apart, and I kind of live here. So here in South Texas, it gets cold in the winter relatively, but it doesn't get frigid, and it never really snows enough to notice. Well, unfortunately, there's a winter storm named Uri. It's sweeping across the nation, and lucky enough to still have running water, I still have electricity. There's definitely enough food in here, weird as it is, that I'm going to be fine until this is all over. But I still recognize, I am on the lighter side of the problems this is causing.
And it's not the city's job to save you. He was literally out there saying that. People are dying, by the way. I felt bad for making a joke. A literal Twitter joke that I went back and apologized for. Of snow. And I will insert the picture so you can see how much we're really dealing with here in Texas. This is all just weird water now. But I'll insert pictures where you can see.
Based on pop culture, drama, tea, that kind of thing. Which, when this was announced, a lot of people had an issue with the fact that he's always in drama because of Shane Dawson. He claims that he doesn't like drama because he's always in drama, but then he starts a podcast around drama because he knows that that's what gets views. You put a big name in the title and all of a sudden you have 500,000 views. It's been working for him across this whole podcast, and then recently there's been more drama, with Trisha Paytas obviously accusing Shane and Jeffrey and Ryland of being bad friends, but a lot of drama channels, talking about this. So I guess that every decision right now is being made by Ryland. And actually, I didn't notice this before, and I posted my last video about the podcast, not do this to our podcast. No, he's just like, oh, by the way, we're doing this now. Because I'm Ryland Adams. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting right now. I'm getting really bad vibes. He says it's like a moral dilemma, that he kind of wants this to evolve into something else. I don't really know what. He says how he wanted to talk about celebrity tea, but then when I talk about YouTubers, it's hypocritical because I don't like when people talk about me. And it's like, well, didn't you think about this when you were starting the podcast? Like, realistically, when you're, sitting around the table and planning out a podcast and you go, oh, let's do a drama podcast. A few months ago, Ryland Adams was still, good. And now people are noticing the bad vibes around him, and they're like, oh, that's strange. That's weird. Essentially my family, so I have no choice. Not that she would obviously cut him off, I guess, is Garrett and Andrew, because they now started their own podcast. If you guys don't know, Garrett used to be Shane's friend, and then Andrew used to be Shane's cameraman, left the scene. And now they have their own podcast called Sweet Boys, and they seem to be doing fine because they've distanced themselves quickly enough. Food. And he basically just swore at her and was like, I made a movie and it was great. What did you do with your life? And in subs, there's probably still something to come back to, but like I said, every time it seems like it's the right time, well, it's not really the right time.
Use my code SIMPLY for 20% off tea.
Hey.
I love my life.
So today's episode is about Canada. We've seen this topic requested a lot. People are very curious, and I think we should point out that I think being Canadian is a pretty big part of our identity. It's something we talk about a lot, and most of the people watching, I think, are aware that we're Canadian. Mm-hmm. But a good proportion of the audience, the majority of people listening or watching this, packaging of milk in the 60s. Around the same time, Canada switched over to adjust the standard sizes of cartons.
Oh, okay.
So I think that has something to do with it.
The one criticism I do see, what month is it? May or June?
Is that racist to some degree, right?
But not most sports.
Yeah, you know what, you could say that about a lot of sports, and maybe in Canada we hold it to a different standard because there's so much national pride about hockey that the fact that there is an ugly side to it is more upsetting, I guess, to us.
What do you mean, ugly side?
Just the fact, the locker room. So there are definitely plenty of instances of people saying bad things on the... And we don't need to get into this too much, but... yeah, there is kind of a conversation. There have been some recent stories that why this popped into my head, but I think we all love hockey and want it to get better, and I think it is becoming more inclusive, and I think that probably applies to sports overall.
伊犁老窖，如果有新疆的小伙伴肯定懂我的那个，就伊犁老窖是。伙伴肯定懂我的那个，就伊。 是国家监督虽然非常非常严格，可是呢，不过年的时候我会偷偷的去小偷因为平常见不到，就平常真的见不到一面。我爸爸以前就是在家里面，管得非常严的，他只在办公室抽烟，他只要下了班，他就绝对不抽烟的那种。从小到大都是见他抽烟，但他其实是一个老烟民。过年的时候，我们晚上上了多少去？我就趁混乱的时候拜年人多少，偷偷拿。混乱的时候拜年人多少，偷偷拿一个跑到楼上那个抽自己的对象，然后还知道抽自己的对象。你把摄像机给打了？你为啥要打摄像机？还是你不小心碰到了？你是不是玩的太开心，不小心碰到了？哦，相机不对焦了呢。我的是，你看还好着呢。还要玩吗？哎，它怎么不启动啊？哦。It's working with me. It's working.
This gruesome discovery is the latest chapter in a dark history for the Cecil Hotel.
Let their hair down.
And if you didn't watch yourself, you might come flying out the window.
Bad things keep happening there, over and over and over and over again. Why?
I would have never thought what was about to happen could happen.
With Elisa Lam, you're talking about a 21-year-old college student that just completely disappears.
The hotel is where we have to start.
But then the investigation took on a life of its own.
I've spent hours and hours investigating this.
In the elevator, she's acting very strange. What's with the hand movements?
There's more to the story than meets the eye.
I think that somebody from the LAPD. Fuck.
I think that Elisa Lam was almost like an insect caught in a trap. And Cecil was able to...
She was traveling by herself, spent a few days in San Diego, and then came to Los Angeles on the 28th of January.
I told detectives that she checked into our hotel on January 28th, 2013. The story of the Cecil, it's a story of adventure. It's a story of things you just can't predict.
As you can see, the cat is not in here, obviously. I'm keeping him out of my bedroom. Hello. Hello. 小宝宝们，要生奶药吗？来，1、2、3。好了吗？好了吗？好了吗？好了吗？比较非常好懒啊，你自己玩啊。咋还自己摔呢？咋那么爱摔呢？
Well, unfortunately, a lot of them were thinking there's some crazy, creepy person behind the scenes that just doesn't care and is running this hotel where all these bad things happen, and it's not true. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the interview, because I want the world to see that who was actually really running, really cared about the hotel, and was running it properly, you know? But I would say there are a lot of, like, unique challenges when you are running a hotel like the Cecil. A lot came with the place. It wasn't even the first couple days in the job where the maintenance manager said that we had a problem.
We're hoping anyone with information comes forward now. Mike Tamara.
All right, thanks a lot, Scott.
My name is John Borden. In terms of title, I consider myself a YouTuber, which I think has been added to the dictionary now. Elisa Lamb is the reason why I started my YouTube channel. It was after I saw the elevator footage of her in the Cecil Hotel. The video was originally released to the press as a message from law enforcement to ask the public for help. Dennis Romero, who is a reporter working for the LA Weekly, puts it up on his YouTube channel.
Been on message boards and especially in places like Reddit, and it pings around the internet and gets shared because it's so weird. And it just sort of took off.
Apparently, I'm bipolar. A few good days, followed by a week of sleeping.
It just blew up in the media.
This surveillance video, it shows the woman acting strangely in a hotel elevator. She walks.
Because I watched this video a whole bunch of times again, just trying to find any information that might be helpful.
If someone were to ask me how many hours I've spent on this case, it will go into the territory of hundreds, maybe thousands of hours. For much of the time that I spent researching the case, I was in between jobs, so for me, it gave me a sense of purpose.
There was a complaint about the water pressure, so I asked maintenance to check for...
Y abría la llave y hacía... Encima del tanque tenía la puerta. Y yo cuando dice la verdad...
知道你不喜欢擦屁眼，但是呢，你自己拉屎不弄干净，我也是没得办法。这里面今天有没有沾屎啊？抓你爪爪，你很烦躁是不是？可是你的爪爪里面老是有屎，我也很烦躁啊。咪咪是一个多么好的猫，咪咪是一个多么配合的猫，咪咪是一个刷牙都不用毯子裹起来的猫。好吗好吗好吗，乖猫哦乖猫哦哦哦。刷牙是为了你好啊，不然你那个口臭没人受得了啊。来，先刷哪边？左边还是右边？先刷这边。啊，先摸一摸，安慰安慰。咪仔乖乖，然后刷一刷。哎呦，不高兴刷牙。不刷牙再打牙龈炎怎么办呀？乖仔，乖仔。煎饼子，翻面，哎呦，给这边的眼了，也是，你，每次给你刷个牙，我他妈的精神都很累，你懂啦？不喜欢刷牙，小孩子都不喜欢刷牙。等你老了，你知道养生了，你天天求着我刷牙，你天天对着妈，把那个牙刷放到我牙嘴里面，打着圈圈刷。好了，乖仔哦，乖仔哦，咪咪表现很好哦，好，马上就好，马上就好。乖乖仔，乖乖仔，我不能咬我。很烦躁，懂了，很烦躁，懂了，很烦躁。哎呀，摸摸。你说又烦死了！你往我嘴巴里面捅那个东西，你捅啥呀捅？不要再刷了，好烦呀！我他妈是个猫。好了，再刷，不要咬我嘛！哎呀，不要咬我！好，再刷一下就刷一下就好了。哎呀，我真的是你娘了个屁！哦，刷完了耶！哎，是不是很烦躁啊？咪咪气死了！哎呀，烦死了！来撒撒火！哎呀，摸摸背，撒撒气，消消气。咪咪已经很乖了哟。不刷了，已经不刷了，已经刷完了。好了。你吃我的喝我的，你砸我家，还好意思跟我生气，不要脸。走，睡觉去。